Yeah.
Because that's just a big part of the skill set.
Yeah.
And if you can talk dope out of somebody's pocket that they know is there.
Even better. Even better.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
I mean, what is it? You catch more honey, or no, you catch more flies with honey.
Yeah.
I learned that pretty quickly on, like the tough guy approach really doesn't work very well. It shuts people down.
Absolutely.
But you become friends with them and you do your thing.
Build a lot of rapport. I always say my mouth used to get me punched in the face. Like it used to get me in a lot of trouble. Now it's kind of, you target it a little bit and it keeps me out of a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Well,
it is weird being on this first time doing a podcast. It reminds me of being in court, right? Where you're like testifying and you're in this little cage and you're an animal, just all caged.
Yes.
Like that part's uncomfortable. I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm Ricky Bobby, right? But then, you can send me to a, 3-alarm fire or a domestic with weapons.
Yeah.
And
You're
I'm
like,
totally fine.
what's up with that? I tell my wife, I literally can't pick out a loaf of bread at the store by myself without calling my wife. But like you put me on the scene of a fatal, I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
I know what to do here.
Yeah. I think it was Gil Martin talked about that a lot. I don't know if you guys ever did that, but the Gil Martin guy where he talks a lot about law enforcement, what it's like at home for the spouses and all that.
oh yeah, where the law enforcement do not want to make decisions when they're at home.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the spouses get really upset with them.
Yeah,
They,
you make decisions all the time. What are you doing? You can't decide what you want for dinner, but there's some truth.
From personal experience, I've been out 4 years now and I still can't make decisions at home. So I don't know if it gets better.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Terrible.
I definitely do not.
Well, I should introduce our guest. Welcome to the show, the North Idaho Experience. We've got a special guest today. We've got Holly Lindsey. She is the Shoshone County Sheriff. So pretty cool. I feel very honored that we get graced with your presence.
hey, I'm so excited to be here.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
a little nervous.
Yeah, that's all right. That's normal. That's what Eric's here for.
Oh, yeah. No,
The talker, we established
talker,
that.
yeah,
Okay, good.
something
He's
like
very good at that.
Give me a captive audience. See, we'll end up on drugs in no time. No, but I'm excited to talk about Shoshone because a lot of people we talk to here don't know a lot about it. I think we get a lot of folks that are interested in like Bonner County or Boundary County and just getting an idea what Shoshone County is all about.
Oh yeah,
And I guess, and we should probably geographically. So if you're not from the area and you're kind of wondering where the heck that is, they're going to be east of Coeur d'Alene. So does it go all the way to the Montana border?
Yep.
Okay. So somewhere, where's it take over? Like 4th of July Pass or something?
Yeah, top of 4th of July Pass.
Okay. And then all the way to the
Exit 0.
Montana border.
Yeah.
And then north and south some way.
Yep.
So you got some pretty remote areas.
Yeah, it's like 2,500 square miles or something.
Holy
around there.
crap. That's a lot.
Yeah.
How many residents roughly?
Just over 14,000 now, like
Okay.
14,200 and something.
Okay. So not super densely populated.
There's about one person every 5 miles ish.
I think that speaks to a lot of people out there. They're like, shit, I want that in my life, right?
Yeah. So the north part of Shoshone County is highly populated. That's where the masses live. And then the southern part of the St. Joe area or Calder or Avery, there's, it's populated down there, but most everybody lives in the north section.
And that would be like Wallace, Kellogg, that
Wallace,
area.
Kellogg, Smokyville.
That area. Cool.
And Avery is like fly fishing capital of the state. And that's where Mark Few.
I'm a
sports fan.
that's what I do for a living.
Really?
I'm a fly fisherman. Yeah.
And wait, so sheriff is like
Sheriff
your
is
collateral
side gig.
duty?
That's side gig.
Side hustle.
Yes.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never done that before.
I spend almost every weekend in Avery.
Really?
Yeah.
So I've gone there twice, and both times it was using the Half Moon Trail where I took the ATV up there and took my son through the old train
Tunnels?
bridges.
Yeah.
The train tunnels.
Yeah.
Man, that was so cool.
It's
You're
cool
looking at me
until
like you really want to do that.
I
it's
do want
cool
to do
until
that.
you almost
Yeah.
hit a deer, though.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
you gotta be
yeah.
careful with
In
your
the
speed.
middle of nowhere.
Good news is I always maintain a safe speed just in case.
That's good.
I'm sure you do.
Just in case there's a hazard out there.
Sure you do.
We were just talking about that because this time of year, I'm sure you guys get. I mean, because you own all the backcountry out there too.
Yeah.
It's not like that's Forest Service. That's all yours.
Yeah. And it's a massive issue for us because we have our search and rescue team. Most of it is for us. It's just a few deputies who have a little more skill than the others to ride ATVs or snowcats or snow machines, whatever you want to call them. People who know how to hike, people who are going to be able to survive overnight if something happens. And, we hire the majority of the new generation coming in. They don't know how to operate ATVs or ride snowcats or anything like that. So we have to train them and do that sort of thing. But our budget for search and rescue is minimal. It's minimal. And some of the equipment that we're running it's over 20 years old. And so the problem is Shoshone is so beautiful. And we have two major rivers. So we have the St. Joe, we have the Coeur d'Alene. And we get so many people over there that want to go up in the mountains, and they'll take their snow bikes up there, which I don't really know what that is. I just know it's a motorbike that goes in the snow.
They got the ski on the
Yeah,
front.
yeah,
They
yeah.
look really cool.
They
They do look cool, but they get way up there. And then we have backcountry skiers, backcountry snowmobilers, and I mean, just this year we had an avalanche occur. We had we had Silver Mountain avalanche. So we have all these massive things that happen way in the backwoods, and it's very difficult for us to get there.
I remember your captain, Seth Green, was on our podcast before. And when the day before we testified, it was a new case, brand new case law. It hadn't been anywhere else in the country. And he and I are testifying on it. Mm-hmm. The avalanche happened the night before.
Yes, it did.
So he was, I think it was 4:35 in the morning is when he said he left that scene and then comes in and testifies.
He's a trooper.
Oh yeah.
He is a trooper. Yeah. It's a tough job because we don't have the manpower to cycle people out and bring new people in. So when you're on a search, you're on the search. If you're sleeping at the base camp, you're sleeping at the base camp. Right. You know, some of the citizens get upset if we're not updating our Facebook on what's going on. It's because everybody's on scene trying to get it figured out. I mean, it's boots to the ground getting stuff done.
Right.
Do you guys have a large volunteer component too, or is it all? So
we rely heavily on the Silver Valley Search and Rescue team, which is all volunteer, great group of people. And they have a lot of skills. I mean, they're highly trained. So as soon as we have a search and rescue incident come up, they're one of the first people that we call.
That's cool.
Yeah. Kootenai has that too, and they are awesome.
Kootenai is legit.
Yeah, they find them quick.
Because we always call Kootenai, and they're gracious enough to come out and help us all the time, and we would be lost without them, to be honest with you.
Well, it just speaks volume about the community, whether it be Kootenai or Shoshone. Yeah. How many people are willing to go, not only forego their weekend, but truly put themselves on the line in these austere and permissive weather conditions to go out and try to find.
Well, I think it's fun though.
It's cool.
I think
you think riots are fun?
Yeah.
I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I'd probably like that too. I think it's a big time commitment though too. It's not like you just show up for the incident, right? There's so much training involved for the volunteer side that, I mean, you got to be pretty committed to it. It's probably a good job for retirees.
Well, and I'm also hearing that if you go to Shoshone, and even if you do have experience on ATVs or dirt bikes, pretend like you don't, because you will get paid to train on.
Yes, you do.
Yes. Go out there.
That's actually, that's actually
true.
true.
I've never turned this on before. Anyways, how many cc's is it? All right, cool.
Yeah. Well, and we encourage the deputies to take out the equipment on their days off, as long as it's something that we have duplicate of, so that they get used to using it. Like, get used to operating this, take it out. Yeah.
You have tats and beards in Shoshone?
What's that?
You have tattoos and beards in Shoshone?
Yeah.
Do it, bro. There you go.
I know.
Yeah. Dang. You know what? We allow beards now because it's a great recruitment tool. You would be surprised how many people it's a deal breaker if they can't have their beard.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I feel like I just had this conversation in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. And of course we want to recruit veterans.
Yeah.
And most of those guys and gals are tatted up.
Oh yeah. Like everybody's got sleeves these days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we back up and talk about your history in law enforcement? How long you've been doing it? Are you from here?
Oh geez. Yeah. So I grew up in an area called Tamarack Ridge, which is on the border of Shoshone and Kootenai.
Okay. So you're like a lifelong resident.
Yeah. And I went to the Kellogg School District. I actually dropped out when I was a junior, but I went to the Kellogg School District. So I've been a lifer. I've been a permanent resident since I was 18, and I'm pushing 50.
Okay.
So
really?
Shocking. No, it's not.
Yeah. Oh, it is. I'm not just being polite.
Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
So it's exactly the same as it was when you were in high school, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Whole area. It's wild.
Yeah.
When did you get into law enforcement?
That's kind of a complicated question. So I went to the North Idaho Law Enforcement Academy that they had back then, which is not the same as it is now, but it's the same concept. And I think that was around 2000 or something. And just so you guys know, I did not prepare for this whatsoever because I wanted to have just a natural conversation.
Full disclosure.
Authenticity.
Full disclosure, neither did we.
Okay,
No.
good.
No.
So I think it was around 2000 and graduated that. I did an internship with Coeur d'Alene Police Department, which was mind-blowing cool. And I had a great partner. To this day, I can't remember his name now, but he was just this cranky old dude. And he was just a cool guy. We both smoked cigars, so we got along.
That's freaking awesome.
Nobody wanted to ride with him because he didn't like, having riders and stuff, but he was cool with me.
Because he was cranky and smelled like cigars. And you're like,
yeah.
It's all right. It's fine.
So I did that internship, and then I got hired on with Coeur d'Alene as a level 1 reserve. And I did bike patrol.
Mhm.
All right. You want to talk about cool.
Yeah.
you put on some of those bike pants that are padded.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel cool.
Especially
I did.
early 2000s. I mean, I'm sure the outfits were like,
yeah,
legit.
I had the helmet, glasses, the
Oh, yeah.
mirror, you know, it was pretty sweet. It was a really cool gig, but I quickly learned that that type of policing wasn't for me. I wanted to be able to connect with my community a little better than I could in Coeur d'Alene. You know, it's like in Coeur d'Alene, and I can't speak to what it's like today or anybody else's experience, but what I found is that I never dealt with the same people every day. And, you know, where I work now and where I've worked at Shoshone County Sheriff's Office since 2004. So my whole adult life has essentially been there because I didn't really grow up until I was like 27.
Same.
I'm still waiting.
Okay.
Okay. I'm still waiting.
Yeah. So I want to, like, even now I'll walk out of the sheriff's office and I'll be like, oh, hey, Mayor Mogeson, how you doing? I'm good, whatever. You go to the store and people want to chat with you. And that's the kind of policing I wanted, is just that tight, you know, community.
Small town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like I can make a difference there or have an impact with my community in a better way.
Right.
I think that goes a long way, just being approachable by the public. Sheriff Norris does a good job of that too.
Yeah,
here.
he
Like
does.
I always see him downtown. He's in the coffee shops, pops in, you know, he's in uniform, you know, people can talk to him, vent problems to him. And he's always open to that.
Yeah,
I think that's
no, he
pretty-
does a good job
I
at
think
that.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, even regardless of your agency size, I try to encourage some of our new guys, especially, or any cops really, actually, even more so like the 8 to 10 year ones, because you start to get this opinion about the community or citizens within the community, because you're constantly funneled towards people that are having a really, really bad day or really bad calls, or it's the same domestic over and over and it's negativity and all that. You start to feel that way about everybody.
Yeah.
Go interact with somebody that's not having a really bad day and just have a conversation. It reminds you that people are,
You know,
decent.
that's what made, I liked being a trooper for that reason, because like 50% of my contacts were, you know, someone broken down on the side of the road, or I'm putting tire chains on for grandma and grandpa because they don't know how to do it, or, you know, flat tire, whatever. So I had a lot of really positive contacts with the community. I think that helps balance it out for sure.
It really does.
Right.
Because if you don't have that, it's just nothing but
It's nothing but bad stuff.
like San Francisco.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't envy the guys that are doing a job in a place like that.
No, you're just
Working in
showing up.
zombie land.
Yeah. You're just showing up every day and that's it.
It says a lot about me, but I'm the guy that when they say, hey, somebody's got to go to this neighborhood watch group, and everybody's like, oh, I'm not going to do it. Make the new guy go. I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
Because it gives
Yeah,
you a chance
no,
to
it
BS
does.
with people. And occasionally some of them are tough to talk to. They're very passionate about, 28 miles an hour and a 25 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is a good opportunity to go speak with people. That
Yeah. And that's why
care.
I've always stayed in Shoshone. I just love it. And so I started out, I had problems, boy. I was not doing a good in FTO. I struggled. I struggled so hard. And I learned a lot of life lessons when I was in FTO. And what I always try and tell people that are coming in that are new is FTO is meant to make your mistakes. I mean, that's what we try and train, like make your mistakes in FTO so you have a teacher there to teach you how to do it right. So I didn't want to make mistakes. So I didn't take a lot of chances. And then by the time I was out of FTO, I didn't know as much as a person who would have asked a lot of questions. Right. And so I struggled with that. And then I finally got the hang of it like 4 years later. And then after that, I did some SRO work. So school resource officer for Kellogg High School. I love doing that. That was so cool. After that, I became a sergeant, not really by choice. Like I wanted to do it because I wanted to help, but I didn't really want to do it.
Right.
But I knew it needed to be done. So I did it. And that was a pretty cool gig. And then just rose the ranks. And it honestly, it happened so quickly that I didn't really have a chance to grow in each part of the chain. Yep. And then, mostly, our agency is so small and the pay was so horrible for years. We would lose so many people. It was so hard to keep people, and our staffing was critically low at all times. And whenever our staffing reaches critically low levels, that means we're stopping certain services. I mean, we got to the point where we were responding to emergencies only because that's the only manpower that we had to do. And it's just been like that too much. So as rise in the ranks in 2017, I was promoted to undersheriff by Sheriff Gunderson, who passed away this year. And he was able to get the pay raised for Shoshone County deputies. That's jail, dispatch, and patrol. And we have since he did that, and we'll never be Kootenai County pay. We'll never be Post Falls, and they know that. but we're doing all right with the pay. And we've been able to maintain a full staff since I took office in 2022. I lost one patrolman, and that was the captain. It's not too long after I was appointed as sheriff, which is a whole nother story. He got a job in, I think, Oregon. So we hired Captain Green, which was an amazing thing for us.
Great move, by the way.
Oh, I tell you what, dude, he is on point. No matter what, and he's like the most trustworthy guy.
Yeah. And
I'm not just saying that because I know he's going to watch this. Like I just love that guy to death. But we've just been, we can't offer a lot of pay, but what we can offer is a strong, healthy work environment. And so we push for, like, I'm anti-micromanagement. Everything that you pretty much experience in larger law enforcement agencies, I do the complete opposite of that in hopes that in larger dysfunctioning agencies, I'll say, I try and do the opposite of that. Like anytime we're going to make a change, we go to the lowest level and say, hey, how is this? What do you think of this? How is this going to impact your job? Because I think too many leaders make changes without asking the people who actually have to do it. And then, it may or may not work. And they're going to be the ones they're the experts, right? Because they're the ones out doing the job. So we've really just tried to cultivate a really positive environment. And I think doing that, plus having the pay that at least lets them put dinner on the table, barely.
Right.
But they're still able to put some dinner on the table. I think it's made a massive difference.
Culture is everything. I like until people realize that, a lot of agencies, that's where they suffer, is the culture.
They get buy-in too. What you're talking about is their ideas are heard from the ground level, and then you kind of learn it. First, you're asking them, just kind of saying, okay, guys, we don't want to make this decision without you. And then all of a sudden you're hearing, well, there's some really good ideas coming out of this and makes it a lot more efficient.
Well, yeah. And they're the ones that are out there doing it. They're going to have the best ideas. Right. And my leadership philosophy has always been, I want to cultivate an environment where people feel free to be themselves and be creative and have ownership. Right. Mm-hmm. And so some of the best ideas and some of the best changes we've made came from the boots on the ground. And that's how we've become so successful with what we're accomplishing right now.
Right. Yeah. So you took over in 2022? 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, from the street level, I kind of gave you a little backdrop on how Seth Green and I knew each other.
Not this Seth.
That's right. How Captain Green and I knew each other. And there are reputations of a lot of surrounding agencies, and Shoshone had that one. Like, a lot of them weren't, the pay and benefits was lower. So the selection process and people that were going to work there, it was hard to compete. Mm-hmm. Right. And it almost seemed like a responsive organization going to calls. Now it's different. Like, this isn't a place to hide anymore. Shoshone County used to be a place to go and hide.
No, they'll come get you.
Yeah. If you were a felon or a criminal, Shoshone you ran from here to go over there and hide out. And it is not that way.
Well, I mean, and now that, because for the longest time when the pay was so low, we couldn't keep people more than a year and a half, maybe 2 years tops before they would leave.
It's a stepping stone.
Yeah. So basically what would happen is we would have brand new deputies training new deputies, and how much knowledge is lost there when you have a 1 to 2 year veteran training a new person on a job where you carry a gun and take constitutional rights away from people.
Yeah.
It was disastrous.
Well, and
we were the number one crime. We were number one in crime for per capita in the state of Idaho.
Wow.
For several years. Right now we're number 3.
I still think that's going to continue to go down because the reputation precedes you. Like, it is going to continue to push people out. And that's one of the goals, is displacement.
Well, yeah. And every Monday, Tuesday, whenever I can get to it, just depends on what's going on for the day with emergency wise. But I kind of look at our stats from what we did for the week prior. So I'll, look at the bookings, and I'll look at the amount of reports we took and the amount of calls we were dispatched to. And my hope was that the stats would be higher than the year before, so I could justify getting new people. And they're actually getting lower. So we're getting fewer arrests. Well, we're actually getting more arrests, but I don't know. I'll explain that. It's very complicated. But the amount of calls that we're going to, it's like reducing, which means that we're doing something right.
That means it's working. That means it's really hard to commit crimes when you're looking over your shoulder all the time, looking for red and blue lights.
Yeah.
That's an effective policing process. But I commend you for doing that. There's a lot of people, especially you, kind of came up through Shoshone and worked your way up through the ranks, taking on somebody with Captain Green's philosophy on policing and going, Yeah. I'm going to subscribe to that. I haven't seen it, but I'm going to trust in the process.
You know what won me over about him is his leadership philosophy. Above all, it was his leadership philosophy. Like, I was like, yep, you're my guy. It was like 10 minutes of just talking to him. I'm like, yep, you're the guy.
Yeah. Oh, and he gets buy-in. It's fun. That's the thing with a proactive policing culture, which comes with its challenges for you, because with a proactive policing culture comes more complaints, more civil service lawsuits, more uses of force, right? There are just things that go along with it. They can all be completely justified and valid. Yeah. It doesn't mean you're not going to get complaints.
Yeah, no. And we do get some complaints, but to be honest with you, the community loves
by and large,
our deputies. Like, they just rave about it, and they want them to go out there and kick ass. Yeah. To be honest, I think they really just, like I always envision when people ask me, well, what's your vision for Shoshone County? I always envision, because I grew up in the 80s, like late 80s, early 90s. And I remember seeing kids out there playing in the dirt, and they had like worn out knees in their pants, and you see a gang of kids on their bicycles out going to cause some hate and discontent somewhere with some animals or something, or some neighbor girls or whatever. And, it's just, you think back at how easy life used to be when it came to just being a kid. Right. Yeah. And I just want to get back to where our parents feel safe letting their kids go out until the lights come on, like the street lights come on or the crickets come out. And right now in our society, that's not very safe to do. And I just want to get back to that good old feeling of just being comfortable in your home and your community.
Right.
And I think we're on our way to do that.
Yeah.
I really do. I just want to make it to where, kids can't go to the local gas station and get some fentanyl real quick, and instead they're out trying to chase girls down or like terrorizing,
maybe breaking a window with a baseball.
Yeah,
here.
whatever,
Like,
whatever it may be. Yeah. Something kids do.
Yes.
Eric touches on that a lot. Like the throwback to when we grew up. Those were good times. Those were good times. And, I want my kids to be able to experience that. I think that's important. I think that's why a lot of people end up moving to Idaho, because they can find that here.
Yeah.
Right.
In any of the communities up here. So it's good. It's really nice to hear, the people in charge have that vision and are pushing the needle in the right direction.
Yeah. And I guess I hadn't really thought about that before, because we always talk about how we want our kids outside in the summer.
Yeah.
I want you to go to the lake. I want you to be safe. I always say throw on a life jacket, even though I know he's going to take it off when he goes down there. But
right, of course.
I want him to be safe. Of course I want him to, but you have to go out and experience life a little bit. So how much of people in certain other parts of the country, how much is keeping your kids inside because you fear for their safety when they step outside of it? That's unfortunate.
It is.
Because I want them off tablets. I don't want them in front of a screen. I don't want the blue screen stuff.
Well, and look at so I just came back from New York, what part of New York did you say you lived in?
Upstate. So kind of near where Captain Green, about an hour south of him.
So that's nowhere near New York City?
No, not near New York City. Yep.
So I went to New York City, and it was just a shock for me.
Oh, yeah.
There's no green grass anywhere, hardly anywhere. I couldn't find a bathroom anywhere unless I'm a paying customer, but not of a grocery store. It had to be a restaurant, so you had to make a commitment to go to the bathroom. And I was just in shock of how much garbage, and it's not the city's fault, really. I mean, it kind of is, but there was garbage cans everywhere, which is great. And the birds would come down and get the garbage out. So there's garbage just all over. And anyway, I had a great time there. I went to the Banksy Museum or gallery.
Yeah. I just learned about that.
Can't believe you didn't know who that was.
I didn't know Banksy was.
But I just wanted to come home. I wanted to come back to North Idaho.
Isn't it weird? Oh, sorry, dude, but
that's fine.
That it's such a weird feeling when you cross state line back into Idaho. It's just different. Like, so I got to go over there for drill, so I'll cross it in Washington, and you can feel it.
Yeah,
like this is just a shit I got.
But I'll tell you. Okay, this is where I was going with that, because my mind's all over the place. I got like 3 hours of sleep last night. It's a byproduct of being a sheriff. Is the whole time I was traveling, you go into these restaurants or whatever, and everybody's on their cell phones. So you have families sitting at the table, and everybody's on their little phones or tablets, and the kids are on their tablet, and the parents are on the phone. And you go on the train, and everybody's just looking down. Everybody's just constantly like this. Yeah. And I think it's the downfall of our society.
Yeah. Like they're afraid to have these conversations and make eye contact. And it's like, wow, what's going on here? I have a brother that lives in Queens, and I don't understand it. He's lived there a long time, and that's like downtown New York City. And I don't like to visit there. It's too chaotic. It's too much noise, everything about it. I think that people that live in that environment, they're just used to it, or they don't know any different.
Well, what's all the honking in New York for? Like, why? Like, they were honking for no reason.
Nonstop.
Right.
It's like a game.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I do not envy those of you that are out there working in places like that, and good on you because you're absolutely necessary. But I think after a while, it's just all reactive, and you just can't even see all of your efforts even tipping. No. Like it just doesn't even move it. No. That would suck.
Yeah. I got
like that.
I got a buddy that I met I have never met him in person, but Jimmy, he's a cop over in NYPD, and he texts me every now and then, just like, hey, how are things going? Like he wants to move out here, but he
wouldn't regret it.
No, you wouldn't regret it. I'm sure
I got one in Philly. Like, and he just retired, and he keeps threatening. But I just think there's so much commitment and work that he's put in that city. Yeah.
It's hard to leave. It's hard to leave.
It's hard to leave.
Well, plus the money's not as great here, I would imagine.
No, it's not. But I mean, the
life is.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that. Our partner Dave, he was a fire captain down in San Bernardino, making over $200 a year, and he walked away prior to retirement and came up here to be a Coeur d'Alene cop.
Right? Yeah, it's totally worth it.
Took a huge pay cut, but he said he'd never do it.
Yeah, quality of life.
Everything
above all.
Yeah, especially when there's kids involved and you want your kids to grow up somewhere like this.
Well, it's just what you're saying. You want those kids in those groups walking around. You want that to be their sphere of influence, their friends, not the 60 or 70,000 that they're getting on YouTube or TikTok.
Oh man, yeah.
Their spheres of influence are so much bigger.
And look at some of that crap that's on there.
They're not good.
Yeah.
It's not pushing them in the right direction. It's got to remind them the importance of like interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
Even as like a microcosm of that, like, I lived in downtown Coeur d'Alene right up the street for 3 years, and we just moved on to 5 acres, and watching the shift in my kids, they didn't have that much to do here. They were in the house all the time. And now being on land, we've got goats and chickens, and they're outside constantly.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, my son, I see him walking out of the garage with a drill and some wood, and I'm like, whatever, have fun, buddy. I can fix whatever you do.
Yeah.
So you have goats?
Yeah.
So do you have baby goats?
So we got 3 of them as babies where we bottle fed them. It was super cool.
Yeah.
I've never had goats before. It was super fun.
Just know that head lice does come with goats.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to worry about that, but
your kids,
my kid might. Yeah.
You might get beard lice.
Yeah. Oh,
chin lice. Yeah, there you go.
That might be worse.
Is that a thing?
No, I have no idea.
I don't know. It could be. But yeah, I enjoy just going out there and watching the goats and the chickens just doing whatever.
You're about to have bunnies.
Super therapeutic for me. It's just bring them over to my house. Don't tell my wife. Just throw them in the barn.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll be fine.
Throw some bunnies in there. They're running all over my yard.
Yeah. Well, they kind of spread very quickly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all living underneath my Tahoe in the backyard. My yard car. North Idaho chic. I can't get rid of that.
Good old country living.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So how big is your department? And you have a jail too, right?
We do. Okay. We have a jail, dispatch center, patrol. So overall we have about 53 employees.
Okay.
Patrol, I don't know the exact number because I don't know the count of the reserves right now, but it's like 21 deputies ish. Okay. The jail, let's see, I think it's like 9 deputies, maybe 10.
Wow.
And it's kind of complicated because we have a position that's open, and there's like the jail is very difficult for us to keep staffed.
Oh, I bet.
The pay compared to Kootenai, I mean, the pay is like crazy more over here. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to do a job like that, the jail is so much nicer over here. Ours is antiquated. It's old. The building originally was meant to like house some inmates for a little bit and then send them on their way back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And our jail holds 48 people. Okay. So on a typical day, we're housing like 62 people.
Oh.
So like if you take the female pod has 12 beds in it, and we're typically housing 15 to 20 females in there. So that means they're sleeping on cots on the floor. We have one cell or like one pod where we can segregate people so they have independent cells. So like if you get a transgender, where do you put them? Do you put them you can't put them in the female pod if they're a biological male, right? You can't do the opposite. So where do you put them? So
Washington.
It's like we have,
Sorry, I said that, not you.
Not me. We have nowhere to put them. Or if you have like just those special circumstances that are popping up these days, What do you do? And we're in a real pickle with that, just not having enough space. we're one of the only counties in Idaho that still uses keys to open doors. So like if we have a fire, we have to rely on our deputies to be able to go and open all of those cells, get people out. We went for a new jail. I think it was back in 2017, and it lost by kind of a lot. I don't think people really understood the importance of a jail and having a newer facility and why that's important for liability purposes. And basically what it comes down to is if we're not up to code on our building and, if we're not able to provide certain necessities for inmates, we're going to get sued and we're going to lose a lot of money and we're going to get sued a lot. And, like we should have a nurse to help with our medical issues that we have in the jail.
Evaluate them when they come in.
Correct.
Right.
And our deputies do that. Our deputies disperse medications. It's just, we have to really take a shift and think about how we need to break out of this 1970s way of operating this facility and move it forward. But the problem, of course, is money. And right now our county is apparently we're in a budget crisis, which means that we're looking at some pretty serious budget cuts, which could mean people, and it could mean it could mean people, it could mean pay freezes, it could mean a lot of things. But basically what that means for our community is that if the pay gets frozen, we're going to lose all of our veteran people. So we've been able to maintain people to where we have at least 8 to 10 year people who've been on the road. And that's amazing. That's where we're getting all these drug arrests. And that's where we're able to do all these sting operations and stuff. A 2-year police officer is not really going to be able to provide you with that kind of output. Right. And I really fear that we're going to get to a point where we're going to lose all of our veteran officers. We're going to get back into that whole hiring and then losing them within a year. I mean, it costs my undersheriff just figured this out the other day, and I haven't had a time to look at it yet, but we were trying to figure out how much does it cost to hire one deputy for the jail, hire one deputy for patrol. And that includes uniforms, training, FTO time where you've got 2 guys in a car or 2 people in a car.
Academy.
Yeah. All of it and what that costs the county. And I mean, the last time we figured it out, it was like around $80,000.
Wow.
And so when we were paying our deputies lower pay, we were losing like 14 people a year. We usually lose them right before summer. And Shoshone is a beautiful place with really cool rivers and mountains to recreate. And every day we get tons and tons. In the summertime, it's packed in Shoshone with recreation. I mean, it is packed. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And I don't know, we might be seeing some darker times in Shoshone here pretty soon.
Is that like your biggest challenge right now as sheriff?
Number one.
Yeah. And then the jail.
And the jail
issue.
Yeah.
Is that I know, it reminds me of a conversation that we had with Bruce Matari. He's a county commissioner in Kootenai County. And he went through that with the sheriff's department of the cost to retain deputies is a lot cheaper than the cost to bring on new ones. And he had it all broken down, and it was impressive. And that's what he took to the other commissioners to kind of help boost that pay. Yeah.
So my previous sheriff, who he retired, and that's when I was appointed in 2022. He did all the numbers and showed our commissioners that if we pay the deputies more and are able to maintain them, it's way cheaper than replacing them throughout the year. And it just is. And not only that, it's safer for our team.
Oh yeah.
And one of my philosophies first coming in was that no matter what, safety first. Safety of employees comes first, and I'm not gonna not put the money forth when it comes to safety. And I don't know. We don't really know. We had to have this big county audit because there was apparently like 1.7 million that kind of disappeared somewhere. I mean, not like stolen. There was no like malice or anything like that, but they think that maybe some revenue was overinflated or something. So they did this big audit, and we're kind of trying to figure out what exactly needs to be cut. So it could be a massive issue, or it could be not as bad as we thought. And I'm really hoping for that. But what we do have kind of a plan in place for that, which if we do have to cut, I mean, I met with my county clerk the other day, and she was telling me that I have to cut $526,000. For a small agency like me, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so my undersheriff right now is working on writing up a levy proposal and see if we can talk the community into supporting a levy that will just support maintaining the the current pay matrix for our deputies just to keep them here.
Yeah, levies are hard because I think there's, especially in Idaho, right? People are very vote no on any increase, any government spending. Small
and
government,
I think it's an easy decision because when it comes to public service, do you want to live in a place that looks like San Francisco, or do you want to live in a place that looks like North Idaho?
Right.
To keep it looking like North Idaho, we need law enforcement.
Right.
We need public safety as a priority.
And you're not just saying that to get guys raises, right? Like that's the truth to it. And hopefully the public can understand that and see that. I
mean, if we face massive budget cuts, pretty much what it means for our community is that we will reduce services.
Yeah.
So I was reading an email from one of my commissioners today, and we should find out within the next few weeks what we're looking at as far as our budget goes for the next coming year. So then once I find that out, then I'll start talking to the public about it. And I really want to just kind of express, I'm not trying to sell it to get more money for our team, although that would be great. They deserve it. Mm-hmm. I want to keep providing the service that we're providing them now. And we definitely won't be able to do that if we have to cut positions or pay, freeze pay.
You've gone from the highest per capita crime rate to number 3, and you've done that in 2 years.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you're talking about money going out, I had this argument with Kootenai County right before I left. I think there's another hidden part of that people don't understand. It's the same thing you're describing at the jail. You're either going to pay now to retain good qualified cops that you've invested in already. Mm-hmm. This is your return on investment, is when they hit that independent 3 to 5 to 6, 10-year mark, right? Where you're starting to get some good product now, or good productivity. Now what you're going to have happen is you're going to have 2 one-year deputies walk into a call, and then you're going to have 12 people sit around, or 20 attorneys, and say, this could have turned out way, way better, right?
Yeah.
In this rapid decision that they made, they should have done better. And then you're going to pay out on the back end, and you're going to sit there wondering, going, what if we'd had an officer that was an 8 to 10 year experienced officer? What if we'd invested in what we'd already trained up and kept them?
Yeah.
Maybe that outcome would have been better. And it's not the fault of the 2 one-year cops.
Right.
Right. You have to have a good blend and a good mix. It's not a recipe for success to have all 2 and 3 year cops.
Right. And I really worry about the safety of those cops when you have a 2-year cop training a new, I mean, really, how good is that training going to be?
And for the citizens, the safety of them too. A lot of times those rapid decisions, they're walking into something where they have to make a really quick decision based on their training and experience. And already in Shoshone, citizens there are lucky that their call level is pretty low. Their volume is pretty low. So,
well, here's the thing. It's not low.
No?
We're kind of unique in the sense that we're one of the smaller communities with I-90 going right through it.
Yeah.
Which changes things a little bit. So I was trying to look up the state police released the new crime stats for last year for the state of Idaho. And I was trying to look at those, but I couldn't, for whatever reason, the website's down. But I was able to see that our crime in Shoshone County went up like 19% compared to the previous year. And it's one of the highest in the state of jumps of crime. And we do, I don't know how to explain this. We do big city, small community policing. Like those guys and gals are hopping from call to call to call to call to call. And they have very little downtime.
Well, I suppose I should have asked that. I didn't.
It's so busy. And it's mostly because we're with the recreation, we have at least 4,000, 5,000 more people in our county every day than we normally have, if not more. And that used to be only on the weekends. Now it's every day.
Well, it's all year. You said the summertime gets crazy.
Oh, yeah.
The wintertime.
Now that snow sports is like a big thing, and backcountry skiing, but it's not as bad in the winter because usually those folks are pretty, like, they know what they're doing out there.
Right.
So we don't respond too much to that, but.
Are you seeing any trends, any particular call trends that are increasing? Or
mental health. Yeah, I would say mental health, drugs.
Is any of the call or the call volume increase, is that related to like report differences in reporting or anything like that, or increase in population, or?
No, I think we've always had a pretty severe mental health crisis in Shoshone County. I think it's all over the nation.
Yeah.
Child sex crime has gone up significantly. That started after COVID. We get I wouldn't say, we don't get a lot of calls for drugs, but we're dealing with a lot more drug seizures that could be due to the captain being on board. But the things that concern me the most are the child sex crime we have had to, so we have one detective, and then we just promoted a second detective so that he can have help investigating those child sex crime cases.
Do you guys hire any retired? Like, we have a huge network of retired cops up here, and a lot of people with extreme detective experience, and like some of them are looking for stuff to do. Is that an option
Would
for you
they
guys?
volunteer their time? Yeah,
Maybe.
We just don't have a budget to pay for that.
Yeah.
We might be able to get away with that with our reserve budget if they were considered a reserve status.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't even know if I'll have a reserve budget in a few weeks. I don't know what will happen with those cuts, which is another problem. If we have to do some pretty serious budget cuts, or we start getting those pay freezes and we start getting deputies leaving, we're going to lose our detective positions. We're going to lose our SROs. Right. It's like all those critical things that are really community driven. Like, no matter what, I'm going to do my best to keep those detective positions, because children in my community are my priority. Mm-hmm. They always have been. And I don't know. The child sex crime, though, to answer your question, is the one that's really surprising me how much that's jumped. I
know a few people. I don't know. I'll have that conversation with them.
That'd be great.
Yeah, because if
we'll take any of the help we can get.
Right, and people that are looking to serve the community and maybe in a non-uniform capacity. And I know one guy in particular. So I worked with for a long time, and he can't wear a gun belt anymore because of an injury.
Oh, yeah.
But a super good investigator. So
yeah, even if it's just training, I think that's another part of it. And it seems like you guys have doubled down on making sure that deputies get trained up.
Training's been an absolute priority. I think one of the things that we've really lacked in my agency since I've been there is we never really focused on the jail very much, making sure that the detention staff are trained very well. Like we always just gave them the minimum, if that. And now we try and train them up in the minimum, and then try and get them trained up in stuff that's just fun to do, like defensive tactics or something. We try and encourage them to be part of other units, like our evidence collection units. Like if we have a major crime, we have this fancy little trailer that we pull out, and it's got all the cool stuff in it. And we invited detention to come out and help us, not to necessarily collect evidence or anything like that, but to stay a security on scene for everybody who's working, or, to go get food or whatever, just to be there for support. So we're trying to get them, we're focusing on the jail quite a bit. Right. And even just today, I met with a few gals in our community. I won't mention their names without permission, but it's the SAVE Coalition, which is a suicide prevention group. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what they technically call that, because I know it's not that, but they focus on trying to prevent suicides. And then I think it's Shoshone Cares, or she's going to kill me for forgetting this. I'll think about it. But there are two groups that they're AmeriCorps workers who volunteer their time in the community. And we met today to talk about what can we offer in our jail that's going to try and help those people come out of our jail while they're there, and maybe just be have help with recovery, addiction recovery, a plan when they get out of jail, something that helps them build confidence, just anything that we can do. And I was like, but here's the caveat. It's got to be free, because we don't have any funding for that whatsoever. And so we worked on that for an hour or two today. And then I took them on a jail tour, because I wanted to show them what we're working with as far as what these folks have to look at every day, and I know people don't want inmates to be pampered and stuff. And I don't believe in that either, but I also know that we're obviously not doing something right in this country when it comes to incarceration,
right,
and drugs and stuff. And so I'm trying to just think outside of the box on what can we offer that just might help them with their mental health, with just learning tools for dealing with life or recovery or whatever it may be.
Right.
So we're really putting some focus in on the jail training, but culture was the biggest one.
Yeah. And I guess especially in a small community, you have people in jail, they're going to get out of jail and incorporate back into the community, and you'll see them in the grocery store. Yeah. And so it's important to kind of find a path where they can actually get back on their feet.
Yeah. One of our career criminals, I won't say his name, but he reached out to me on Facebook and he's like, "Hey, Holly, can I get one of your campaign signs?" And I'm like, "You know what, buddy?
Yeah. Doing something
I'll
right.
come drop it off." I mean, they're not always like, what I've noticed is like the way I grew up, I grew up very poor. Okay. It was like, we didn't have running water a lot of times, and we'd have to go down to the river and fill up a barrel to water the garden kind of thing, and to flush the toilet and everything. And like, we'd have these competitions of like, "Oh, you think you're so poor? Well, I had this or that." And so the people that hung around my house were great people, but they were definitely addicts. They were definitely alcoholics. They were all of these things. And those were like the type of people who would kill somebody for me if I wanted them to, like they were like some seriously dedicated folks.
And loyal.
The loyal folks. There you go. And so like, I grew up around people that I see in our facility all the time. And I know they're not bad people. Usually they're usually just addicts that have really lost their way. And I just want to see if we can figure out how to get them out and get them maybe working and paying some taxes.
What's the majority of the population there? Do you have a lot of retirees, or what's the big employment?
So the biggest employment is probably the mine and school district and Dave Smith Motors.
Okay.
The median age is 42 to 45, but there are a lot of retirees there.
Is the mine? I've heard that the mine is coming back or expanding, or is that familiar?
You know, it is coming back. I haven't heard anything about any type of expansions. I honestly don't know much about mining.
Okay. Neither
One
do
of
I.
my previous captain, Jeremy Groves, he is a miner. He was a miner before he became a cop. And I was like, will you, like, I don't want to do this because it scares me to death, but I was like, will you take me and under sheriff below ground and show me what the mine looks like? Yeah. And I just kind of want to see what it's like and what they deal with every day. But they're a massive employer for our community.
I think that's a Shoshone County rite of passage.
Yeah.
You have to go down to the mines and check.
Well, they say it's like a giant city down there.
Yeah.
Like it's huge with massive trucks and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you give us the rundown? I keep hearing about super fun site. Kellogg's super weird. Obviously, those of us that do a little real estate, like Kellogg's funky. Like you can't build anything new. Has to be an existing structure. What is the history and background? And why is
I honestly don't know much about that. Aside from this, when I was going to school every day back in middle school, and I had to take a bus ride from Cataldo to Kellogg. And it was like the longest, well, it was from Tamarack Ridge too. It was the longest bus ride ever. And as you get towards Milterville, there'd be this big black slag pile. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was this big black just mountain of something. And I didn't know what it was, but it turns out it's like slag or something, mine waste or something rather. And there were these two giant, what do you call those?
Like a smokestack?
Yes, smokestacks. Two giant smokestacks that they eventually tore down.
I think it's a Walmart now.
I think it's a golf course. Or it's a residential area, maybe. Nice. I don't know. It's because they changed, they put some golfing in, they did some residences and stuff. But I do remember, because I was so young when that Superfund stuff was happening, that, or either that or I was occupied. But everybody's yard was getting dug up, and then they'd put plastic down and then put new dirt. And we had all of us, I had a child very young. I had my son I just turned 18 when I had my son, who's a firefighter. I'm very proud of him.
Nice.
Shout out to my son, Josh.
Where's he at?
He works at District 1 Fire in Osborne.
Okay.
And he just started his career in that, and he absolutely loves it.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think now it's kind of funny because he'll tell me some like exciting stories. I think he's becoming that adrenaline junkie kind of thing. Because like, I don't know. It's such when you go into public service and you get that purpose, and he's got that purpose now. And I'd love to see that sparkle in his eye.
Right. Right.
I hope because I don't know much about firefighting, but like in law enforcement, and I don't know if you guys saw this in your agencies, but one of the toughest things for me in law enforcement is when we'd hire somebody new, and when you first hire them, they have this sparkle in their eye. They want to make such a difference in life. And then like a year goes down the road and you walk past the patrol room and you're like, hey, what's going on, Billy? That there's just a little less sparkle, It
dulls a little bit.
It dulls just a little bit. And then, like 2 years goes by and 3 years. And pretty soon it's like, we have this joke around the office and it's like, oh, you look like you have dead eyes. Like you're just dead inside, bro. And I just hope firefighting's not like that.
Right.
Because there's a lot of times when we're hiring people that I try and not talk them out of getting into law enforcement because they just look so innocent. And it just, one of my priorities coming into office was mental health for my employees, because we have not spent any resources at all on mental health for our law enforcement. It's been a massive, that's one of the things that, speaking of Seth Green, that he was all about too. And I was like, yeah, me too, bud. So
that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. We've worked really hard to get mental health services available to our staff. If they want to leave work and go to their appointments, so be it, go do it. You're having a bad day and need to take a time off, like take a sick day. I don't care.
Right.
Like whatever you got to do, we just try and take care of our team.
Well, that's huge too, just because by and large, I think law enforcement agencies all over, we're kind of intolerant. I've had this conversation a couple of times too. We're kind of intolerant to seasons of life. Like this, whatever it is, if you do it long enough and you go hard enough and you push pedal to the metal and you're driving hard and you're pushing the mission and you're doing all this, eventually there's going to be a point where you come off the accelerator a little bit. You're going to dip just a little. And I don't think that's irregular and it shouldn't be shunned. And sometimes you get into these places where it's like, well, why aren't you pedaling the metal today? You need to pick it back up and get out there. As opposed to, hey bro, you good? It just doesn't seem like you, man. I'm all right, man. I'm just catching my breath. Right.
No, I had a pretty bad experience. So when I first got into law enforcement, I mean, my dad was a cop. He retired as a cop. He was a cop in the military. He's like, cop through and through. And so I knew what I was getting myself into. But when you start seeing your first critical incidents, and it starts happening more and more, you try and be tough about it. We all be tough about it, like it doesn't bother you or whatever. But for me, not too long after I started in law enforcement, I found it was getting really difficult to just relate to people normally. Like unless you were a cop, I couldn't really relate to you very well.
Right.
And I always felt odd at parties or whatever. So what did I do to feel better? I drank.
Yeah. Right. That's what they used to tell you to do.
I drank, right? And I was never one of those alcoholics that were like, oh my God, I need a drink. But I was one of those alcoholics that was like, I don't have that shut off switch.
Right.
And so obviously I don't drink anymore, but I don't want our new deputies to have to go through what I went through, which was like no support. I have no idea why I'm feeling this way. And I just want to make sure that they're taken care of and they don't have to go through that. Because the firemen take care of their guys like crazy. I can't believe it. Their guys and gals, they are awesome with their mental health.
Right.
It's like priority.
They are further ahead with that than we are. But I think slowly but surely, I know that we have a Sergeant Beach at PD. She was instrumental in getting some stuff changed down south with Idaho, where they're starting to recognize first responder and law enforcement. We're starting to remove the stigma attached with seeking some help for counseling, which is massive.
Well, it's kind of funny because I did a news, the news came and talked to me about mental health last year or something. And I talked about how I go to a therapist because I suffered from some serious depression. I mean, it was like I was getting suicidal depression. And it was off and on throughout my career. And I knew I had some pretty serious issues, especially with drinking my emotions away. Right. And so I finally was talking to go into therapy. I started going to therapy. It was the best decision I ever made. So anyway, I go on the news to talk about that because I'm over it. Like, yeah, we're going to talk about it. Yeah. We cops have alcohol problems.
Yeah. Think what you want.
They have, they have mental health issues because they see a lot of crappy shit.
Right.
On a daily, and they're treated pretty poorly on a daily. And how can that not impact you at some point? And so I was like, I want to break the stigma. And then I had a lot of people, when I posted that on Facebook, this little link to the news story, there were people like, you're not fit for office. Oh, boy. And it was like, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. That's that stigma that I was talking about right there.
Thank you for proving my point.
In fact, you're actually much more fit for office. Is what anyone would tell you.
And I would say, like, what does that mean for veterans who are struggling? Are you saying that they're like not worthy of doing something?
Right. Yeah. Unfit to go back, because a lot of them are doing that while they're in, and then they go back again.
Right.
Have you heard of Protector's Peak? Mm-mm. Oh my gosh.
What is that?
Are they in Avery?
No, they're further south than that. I don't remember.
I have a pamphlet. I'll give it to you. So Nate Harder, he's a retired police chief. He started this nonprofit. It's a PTSD retreat for first responders. It's like
You're kidding me.
An hour and a half from here. I'll give that to you. You should connect with him. He is a fantastic human being. We did a podcast with him. I'll send it to you so you can listen to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's just like a selfless man. So he brings people from all over the country, but he is looking to serve the local community more and does not have enough connections. So
here's the connection right here.
Free of charge, guys and gals can go down to his ranch. He puts them in the woods. It is faith-based, but it's not like overly faith-based if they're not into that. And basically he puts them in the woods and they kayak and they fish and they hang out and
sounds like a great weekend.
They heal. Yeah. It's huge. He does them. He does spousal. So spouses can come together. Firefighters, all first responders.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
and no cost. He's got, I know he's brought in teams like when SWAT teams lose a bunch of guys on a call, he brings the whole team out. It's a healing experience. It's dry. Right, doesn't want people to drink because they don't want to fall back into have old, what they used to teach. So no, it's awesome.
Probably be a good resource. Yeah, I'll connect you with him too. He's a great guy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, that just popped into my head when you were talking. I happen to have the pamphlet sitting right there.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
So handy. Yeah, because that's that's a common theme for us. Obviously, we have a lot of conversations with first responders and veterans, and it comes up a lot, and it's good that it comes up.
Yeah,
right.
Because I'm sure when I started, it was like pretty shunned upon to talk about.
We're not human. We're robots that have no emotions, right?
Yeah. And society, like the people that comment on what you link that to, it's like, well, you went to training. Bro, do you think 9 weeks at a police academy all of a sudden removes any human emotion or any trauma when you have to go to a dead kid call? That's not going to change that. The only healthy way is to recognize what that is and the way that you're feeling is not irregular or abnormal, right? And then come out on the other side and talk to like-minded people in therapy. You're one of many that's told me recently that therapy was hugely beneficial.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, I fully talk about it too, and I went after a few things, and my entire 14 years, I had one critical incident debrief out of all the fatal crashes, shootings, all the dumb shit. One time, and I was like, this is probably something that should happen a little, because it was very beneficial. I went into that thing and I was like, this is stupid. But, afterwards hearing all the other officers that were there and then the dispatchers, and it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not
crazy.
Important.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, good connection.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We've started to push that locally too. There's a CDA Foundation is a local nonprofit that raises money just for officers to go seek counseling. That's one to plug in with some of the people here. And I'm sure that would spill over into Shoshone. It's all based on just contributions from the community.
That's fantastic.
And stakeholders. So they can go and no questions asked, go get counseling when they need it, as opposed to going to their primary care and having to get a script. And then they have to go get a scan. Then they have to do a sleep study. Then you can maybe go talk to a counselor that's approved through this particular. It doesn't work.
I knew.
Well, what I was really surprised.
Do it.
When I needed to go to a therapist, and there was a 4-month waiting list in my county to get to a therapist.
That's crazy.
What are you asking?
I know multiple guys that I worked with that paid. We had free. It was, you call a number, you don't even have to give your name and you can get treatment, but they would pay out of pocket because they were so worried about the department finding out that they were getting mental health treatment. It's like, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you're not fit for duty.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the fear, right? And the UB partners aren't going to trust you and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I think it's getting away from that. Yeah.
That's good.
I didn't answer your question. I don't really have any clue about the Superfund site stuff.
Oh yeah.
I just know that they were redoing yards and dirt, and that there was a lot of lead, and the kids were getting tested for it. My kid tested really high.
Really?
I tested really high for lead, but I used to take baths when we had no running water at the river in Cataldo. So it's like where the fast water goes it goes to really slow running water. And that's where a lot of the metals were.
Right.
That's
where they sit.
We used to take mud baths and stuff down there.
That's what I'm talking about. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, maybe if you are getting lead poisoning.
She seems just fine.
I mean, I can't read very well.
Yeah.
I can't do math very well either. So.
What is my excuse? Dang it.
Oh my gosh.
Where was your dad a cop?
He worked for Idaho County Sheriff. So I was born in Grangeville, Idaho, and my dad worked for Idaho County for years. He was a resident deputy for the majority of his career in Elk City, Idaho, which not a lot of people, unless you're a hunter, don't know where that's at, or Riggins, Idaho.
Yeah.
And then he worked for Grangeville, and then he worked in Arizona, like as a narcotics detective for a while.
That's cool. My mom was a cop in Spokane. She retired 2000.
His mom's a badass. She got shot.
I would imagine if you're a cop,
I tell everybody
Spokane,
that. I know. I'm so proud of that story. It's so dumb.
I know
it's not my mom, but it's cool. Her mom's a badass.
Yeah, I know, it's wild. She did that.
Was she okay?
Yeah, she's fine.
Okay.
They were like, "Oh,
She's good.
you're gonna have to ride a desk, and you're not gonna be able to walk." It was 2 years she ran Bloomsday.
Oh yeah.
She's
of
like,
course.
"Yeah, we'll see."
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Wouldn't guess it talking to her.
No, she's the sweetest lady.
Cool. No, but good on you. Did you run into any of that? I'm just gonna hit this because I'm super curious. There's another stigma that I think it's involved with being a female cop in law enforcement. It is traditionally dominated by that. I'm curious about your experience through law enforcement as you've done that. And
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I have experienced some troubles at first because I think I'm the second female to ever work in Shoshone.
Wow.
And I worked with a bunch of really great guys when I first started, but I did get locked in the trunk a lot, like as a joke and of the cop car. Yeah. I was kind of there was a lot of practical jokes. I mean, but full disclosure, I started figuring it out that that's just kind of what they did, even though I got it a little more than most, but I'm vicious when it comes to practical jokes. So I just got them back.
Tenfold. Yeah. You just get them tenfold. I stand by.
Yeah, it was hard. I think it's changed a lot now, but it was definitely not an easy thing. But the funny thing is I could go to a call with you and we walk up there and they're going to talk to me before they talk to you. It happens all the time. Right. And I don't know why. I think I'm obviously, I mean, I can't really defend myself very much. I mean, even if I train, I'm still probably going to get my ass kicked. Mm-hmm. So I have to use my brain instead of trying to use my brawn. Right. And, I was pretty successful with that in my career. But I think the culture has changed quite a bit, especially, I mean, we have 3 deputies, including me at Shoshone. So we have two other females.
I was curious. And like I said, when my mom's era coming up, there just weren't very, very many female cops. And it was like going through training program, trying to wash them out and how many went through and how many.
Yeah, I definitely had some problems with my administrators for a while with one of my sheriffs. But.
Well, I think as we talked about in the previous part of the conversation, the old stigma attached to like mental health, some of the old school shit was really dumb, right? Like it was definitely okay to adjust to modern times.
Yeah, I'd probably be rich right now if I knew that was not appropriate.
That's true. I often say the only way to get rich in law enforcement is to get fired.
That's right. Some of the toughest beat partners I had were women, like in a good way. Like, one of my first FTOs, she came on in like the late 80s, early 90s with CHP, and that was pretty rare back then. Mm-hmm. And she was tough as hell. Yeah. Awesome.
I watch the interaction sometimes, and I've had some really good colleagues on shifts. It was 4 or 5 of us, and I was like, man, you were a total B on that call. What's up? And then I'll watch the interaction because it's humans is who we're dealing with. Yeah. And I'll watch drunk dudes, and they want to test female cops all the time. Yeah. Like pushing it, not giving them any respect, whatever. But by and large, that's what I'll see. So I'll watch, they'll come in hot, right? And then you can come off a little bit. Yeah. Right. You almost have to go in and command that in certain calls. Yeah. I was like, I get it. Yeah. I get it. It's a different interaction because you're dealing with the human element. Everybody's different. I imagine Shoshone, everybody just knows your name though.
That is true.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, they know where you live. Yeah. I have people stopping by my house all the time wanting to talk about issues.
There's this guy parking in front. That would drive me crazy. Yeah. It would drive me.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, it's unnerving sometimes because when we get threats and stuff, I mean, they know where you live. My car's parked. My patrol car's parked at my house. Yeah. I have guns all over my house. Yeah, like all over my house. I grew up watching. Do you guys remember the movie Red Dawn?
Oh yeah,
hell yeah.
Okay, so when I was a kid and I saw that movie, I was terrified of the Russians coming in and taking over my community, and I didn't want to have to rely on some high school kids to save my community. And anyway, when people are like, "Hey, what's your thoughts on gun control and the Second Amendment?" I'm like, I grew up watching Red Dawn. Okay, I've got guns everywhere. Yeah, like I just. It is kind of unnerving with everybody knowing where you're at all the time.
That's a good point. I mean, so you're up for re-election. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, what are some of the questions people in the community are hitting you with? Is Second Amendment a big one?
First Amendment.
Yeah. Is Idaho? Yeah.
Aside from that, it's mostly like local issues, which I know a lot of sheriffs they talk a lot about a lot of federal issues, and a lot of those sheriffs have the like presence in their career to be able to make difference in that arena. And I just stick with my local issues that we need to deal with. I just don't, I'm new to this whole sheriffing thing, and I just kind of want to leave the heavy lifting to the more experienced sheriffs. And just for me, I'm trying to get a grasp on our community issues. And, a lot of issues, mostly I get a lot of gun questions, and like concealed weapons permit issuance. And that one was tough to learn, honestly, the concealed weapons stuff. I still struggle with, because I issue them all the time, and I'll look at somebody's criminal history and I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that one, and then I have to talk to my prosecutor and get some advice on some things, because I don't want to prevent somebody from getting their concealed weapons permit and make a mistake there. And, but yeah, I think most of the questions I get are just local, and it's always about drugs.
Yeah. That's Eric's world right there. He's excited.
No, it's
not. You knew he was going to circle back to that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I didn't. The sheriff brought it up. I feel important to discuss what she brings up. But truly, I think in a lot of ways, even in the mental health stuff, I'm not sure about your experience, but I just see the correlation between like illicit substance use, whether it's always a chicken and egg conversation, right? Which came first, the psychosis or the meth or the illicit drug? And, sometimes I think people are trying to self-medicate. I truly feel sorry for a lot of them that they're lost. Like you look in their eyes. And
I was self-medicating with alcohol. I mean, right? It like happens to not everybody, but more people than you think.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. I just want to see if we can figure out something for our community to, try and solve that.
Well, I saw you guys are part of the iLeads program in Idaho, where there's an opportunity for them to go seek. It's like intensive 3 times a week. I think it's 2 appointments on top, or UA every other week. I mean, it's more intense than probation, to be honest, and given an opportunity not to become a felon. As passionate as I am about narcotics enforcement, I'm a big fan of that too.
Yeah, no, I think if they want to put the work in and they can accomplish it, that's fantastic. Like, that's way better life for them.
Yeah, no, sure. I agree. You're just not going to wrest your way out of that problem, but. No. I will tell you whatever you guys are doing over there, Shoshone's got a different reputation now. And I think you're starting to see the benefit for the community. So when it comes up and they're asking about funding and paying the deputies that are out there, I think you can still let your kids outside and they'll be safe there. Like that's the goal. And the work you guys are putting in is going to continue to make it safer.
Oh, dude, my team they're spot on. Like I have some great people working with me. Yeah. Like all of them.
Yeah. Well, we've met one and he was pretty stellar. I met him.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have anybody running against you?
I do. Yeah. His name is Dave Hildebrand.
That name sounds familiar.
And I don't know much about him.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he was maybe in the corrections in California is what I'm hearing. Okay. But I don't know much about him.
Well, if it were me and I were voting and I had the choice, I would probably pick someone that grew up in that community. I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
You're vested. You have shown that.
Well, I will say, though, I think it depends on how long you've lived in the community.
Yeah.
I think he's been here like 2 or 3 years, maybe.
Yeah, you grew up here.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
I think I'd be more cautious about somebody that has lived there, grown up there, and then worked their way all the way up through Shoshone if they stuck to the exact same policies that there were 25 years ago. Yeah. But I don't see you doing that. There's adapting, because it's dealing with humans. And this is like it's hitting a moving target all the time. The courts are doing different things. There's new case law that come out. There's new governing standards and principles. You guys are adjusting to that.
Well, look how much law enforcement in general has changed in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, body cams changed it. There's so many different factors that change the way that we police. Yeah. And Idaho is, somebody mentioned the other day, it's like sometimes Idaho seems so conservative, it's almost liberal, just because it's so pro criminal sometimes in our court system. And I'm a constitutionalist. I hate that has a negative connotation.
It does now.
But it gets wild. I mean, court stuff around here gets wild.
What's making me crazy is that the American flag is now getting a negative association with different groups. All this labeling in these groups drives me insane.
It's nonsense. And look, I've always said when people are moving up here, I'm not saying Idaho's not going to fall. But if it does, it's going to be one of the last
hardest to take down.
It's going to be like us in Wyoming or like North Dakota or South Dakota or something.
Yeah, we've got elk to feed on.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got guns.
Yes.
And actually we were talking about, one of my biggest fears is something happens. It could be an earthquake in California that destroys, could be Yellowstone, could be anything. And then people from the big cities are going to start flooding our area. And I worry about that so much. And so we were going to try and get together veterans, ex-cops, like retired cops, whatever it may be, and see if we could just get a group of people that we could train to say, because like if worst case scenario happens, how are we going to still handle everything and protect our infrastructure, like our hospitals, our pharmacies, our grocery stores? I just worry about that. So we're trying to maybe put together something to where we can say, hey, listen, this is what we need from you guys. Will you help us if something happens? I mean, the problem being that if something happens, those men and women need to protect their own family too. So where are we going to find this help? But we are going to see if we can get together. I don't want to call it a posse. We're trying to figure out a cool name to call it. Well, so if you have any ideas, you let me know.
And that doesn't have a negative connotation, right? Because unfortunately
it does. And what you're describing is almost like a militia, right? Yeah, but that has such a negative connotation, and it shouldn't. Our country was founded by people that were willing to collaborate and get together and protect the country themselves. All of a sudden, militia sounds like
I kind of like posse. Yeah. I mean, it's a throwback.
Yeah, posse's better. Posse's better.
Yeah. We used to have a pretty substantial posse. It's just hard to find volunteers anymore. I mean, the same people volunteer at all these different things, and they get worn out. But it's really hard to find volunteers.
If you need a riot team, I know a few guys that live up here now. Lots of experience.
That daydream about it. Regularly.
Lots of experience in riots. Pretty unlikely over there, I'm sure. But
with your Pulaski painting over there.
Yeah. No,
Pulaski.
Banksy.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
Banksy.
All right, cool.
Like
never claimed.
I kind of question your, I don't know, coolness if you don't know who Banksy
right?
is.
You absolutely have a right to question my coolness in general.
Okay,
that's fair.
But I respect
puka shells on today.
Oh yeah, you don't.
Today,
good mix.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So actually, coming back to your question about the struggle as a female in law enforcement, when I would work night shift, I'd always go in the bars and make friends with all the night drinkers, and usually they're the same guys and stuff. And because those are the guys that I'm going to ask for help, because you're not going to get backup for a while. When I was like the only one on graveyard for a long time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so you rely on the community to help you.
Yeah.
So I don't really think there's anything wrong with militia or posse, because that's what I've relied on for my entire career.
Well, but what are we really talking about? What you're talking about is law enforcement partnering with the community that wants to keep the community safe. Yeah. That's a good thing. Yeah. That to me is the only way to have a successful department. Yeah. People have to have buy-in to the way that you're doing it, and then buy in themselves and be willing to assist, or at least call. So many of these other cities, I'm not snitching. You're not snitching on who? The guy that just dealt your little sister a pill that put her down and she had to get Narcan back.
Right.
Smart, bro. That's a really good culture. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's what you're talking about is partnering with the community. You just had to do it as a means of survival, working graveyards by yourself in Shoshone with no backup.
Yeah.
How do the, your leadership style, how do the deputies, like, are they on board with it? I know it's kind of a weird question. I'm not
much of a, I don't like answering questions like that.
I know it's a hard question. You don't want to talk yourself up, right? But
I think they enjoy it just because if they have an idea, they know they can pass it on and we'll actually really consider doing it. And if we can do it, we'll do it. And if it works, it works. And if it fails, we'll try something else. Like, I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to, like I said before, they are the subject experts because they're the ones doing it. I haven't done it for years. I don't know what it's like to be on the road anymore. And any administrator out there who pretends like they know what it's like to be on the road, unless you're on the road, you don't know. And so I just rely on them to kind of guide us, whether it's jail, whether it's patrol, whether it's dispatch. They're the ones doing the job. So we really, like, if you have an idea, I want to know about it. If we can do it, we'll do it. If it's officer safety, we put it first.
Right.
And it's just made a big difference. I think just having kind of ownership in the mission, and that's made a huge difference. Just having, if I say something, like I tell my command staff, if I say something that you disagree with, please tell me. If you surround yourself with a bunch of yes men and women, you're not going to get very far. And like, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. If you're wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong, and let's figure it out. And we're not always going to agree. And that's an important part of growing. But I like the back and forth. I'm not very big on, oh, well, I'm the sheriff, you're this and you're that. Yeah. And I just don't think that gets you very far when it comes to everything is just our team. Like every success I've had is because of them.
Mm-hmm.
And like I recognize that. And so I try and take care of them the best I can.
Sound like a coach.
That's pretty awesome. That was a pretty awesome answer.
Yeah. And everything that's wrong is because of you, but everything that's right is because of them.
And that's probably right.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably like, and that's one of the things is like being a supervisor early in my career and moving through the ranks so quickly. I made so many mistakes. So many mistakes with like management. I was managing, I wasn't leading. There's all these mistakes I made. And so I try and take all of those things that I did. And now as like pushing 50 as a grown woman, I just try and take all of the bad things that my sheriffs did and never do those. Take all the good things they did and maybe do those. And take the ideas from the boots on the ground and run with them, because those are the ones that are most successful. Plus, they're the ones that watch all those cool videos that have all the good ideas from other agencies on there.
Good point.
Yeah.
Law enforcement, we just need to plagiarize and copy each other. There are some people from other agencies that do some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Just need to take that. And sometimes I think I don't get a lot of ego from you. I don't get a lot of that. But I think sometimes heads of agencies get to a point where like, we can't do what they're doing because we didn't think of it. And somehow, some way that would hit me in my, my confidence can't handle that I would adopt what somebody else did over there.
I've actually seen a lot of that in law enforcement.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I had another question. It started to slip my mind. It's coming back. So are you guys down deputies right now? Are you hiring?
We are not hiring for patrol. We are not hiring for the jail. And we are full.
Okay.
Full staff.
The reason I ask that is because our listener base is largely from this world, and we get a lot of people moving up here that are looking for employment. So,
this is actually my one brag. We lost 4 people in our jail, like within 2 weeks.
Ouch.
And it may have been because of me, because I was appointed, very close to that time, right before that. So I don't know. Some people needed to just get out of law enforcement, and so they did. Some people had to take care of their family, which is always a priority, like you said the other day. So we did lose 4 people in the jail, but we haven't lost anybody in patrol, and we usually replace them like crazy.
That's good.
And that means, in my opinion, I feel like we're doing something right if we're able to maintain these folks. And in dispatch, we haven't lost anybody, and I don't know, we're doing pretty well in that area, so we're not really suffering too hard.
Okay.
Well, you're winning ball games. At the end of the day, it always comes back to sports, right? You guys
For
are out
you,
there.
yes.
Coach Eric. Yeah, I know, but it seems like you guys are winning. Like whatever you're doing, you're getting wins. Like you can't look at your social media and not say, I see it. And I'm like, this hit and this hit twice. They've been people that I really wanted. And I was like, freaking Shoshone.
Yeah.
Shoshone, oh my God.
Yeah, no, they're doing really good.
Yeah.
They're doing really well. It's really fun to watch them plan those things too, those operations. And one of my commissioners, I was like, hey, we're going to do a drug bust. Do one of you guys want to come and watch how this whole process works? And so we brought him in I shouldn't say this, but I was like, make sure you go over the safety stuff. I want them to know how dangerous this is, because you guys brush over this stuff like it's no big deal, but I want her to know that this is really dangerous. And so she sat through the whole operations briefing, safety briefing, all of it. And then she rode with me. We were getting to the drug house, and she's like, I'm nervous. I'm so nervous right now. And I'm like, you should be. This is very dangerous.
Yes. Remember this next time we talk.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that, so we ended up doing the arrest, and I was like, hey, I'm going to grab some pictures, for a social media post. And I was like, to the commissioner, I was like, turn that way, just don't face the camera, just kind of see what's going on. And as she looked over, the deputies the in custody was naked, and I didn't know that. and my commissioner looked back at me like this with this face, and I was like, click.
Let's keep her.
That was a keeper. I sent it to her. I was like, here you go.
It's wild, and because you bring that up, all the safety considerations you do when you're going to go do this.
Oh, it's so dangerous.
High risk warrant service, right? But the way I explain that to people, well, why are you doing that? It's just drugs, right? Well, what happens when 2-year deputy Lindsey stops that car coming back from Washington after they just picked up for a signal violation and covers 25 minutes away? When you're serving these high risk warrants, there's teams in place. There's people with experience in place. You have equipment, you have time to plan, and you can kind of control that moment there.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a lot safer. It's scary knowing that those people are in your community acting, right? Or a trooper stops them out on the interstate and they're by themselves. So I'm a big fan of that. And it reminds people that there's some teeth.
Yeah. I mean, we were doing a bust, I think it was last winter. And one of our deputies and one of our sergeants, he was like, "Hey, Sheriff, can you come to the briefing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll come." So I came to the briefing. And we're doing the briefing and I'm in the briefing. And I'm like, "Oh, wait, hold up. You want me to like actually be in the operation? Are you sure?"
You're kicking the door.
And he's like, "Yeah, we need you." And I'm like, "Oh,
Reach her up.
Are you sure?"
Yeah.
Yeah, we need you.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. I'm like, I'm not going through the door. Like that's where I put my foot down. They put me on perimeter, of course.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
But I can handle that.
It's pretty cool.
I can handle that. Yeah.
No,
I just haven't done it enough for a while, so I don't want to get anybody hurt.
Yeah, get a couple reps. There you go. That's cool though.
Yeah.
So
No, it's fun to do that stuff.
on a personal level, you touched on fly fishing.
Mm-hmm.
You're big on fly fishing.
I am. Tenkara fly fishing.
What's that?
So Tenkara fly fishing is a Japanese style of fishing, which is it's a rod that is collapsible. It's like this big.
Oh,
Okay.
that's like 12 inches, 14 inches.
So if you do hiking, backpacking, whatever, this is the rod to bring. It's this big. And then when you're going to fish, you expand it out and it goes 12 feet.
Okay.
From the tip, you put some line. The Japanese used to use horsehair, but now, obviously we don't use that. You put line on there and the rod itself has no reel for the fly fish. So all you do is just hold your hand up, put it out, and the rod is so long and flexible, it whips that line out. And so when you're fly fishing, I have to wear camouflage because I'll be so close to the fish, which is super cool. It's like tactical fishing.
Yeah.
And you'll just hit what happens is since there's no reel and the line never hits the water, only the fly does. So you flick that line up and it goes up and it drops right on the water and it just kisses the water, and the fish, all they see is that fly, and they come up and grab it and hold on to it.
That sounds awesome.
And if you catch a big enough one, you have to chase the fish because you can't bring them in. Like that's too big to bring in. So you kind of just have to chase them downstream until you can get them to pull to the side of the river. It's awesome.
So that's your free time.
Free time. Yeah.
Fly fishing.
So you're in pursuit of that fish. He's failing to yield, and you got to chase
gotta
him
pursue him,
on the side of the river.
Yeah, you'd be amazed at some of those pursuits. They are dangerous too because you're in waders.
Yeah.
It's rocks. I did get like a $600 fly fishing rod, $700 rod for Christmas, and I've used it 3 times because it's so hard to learn.
Yeah.
But I've never, like, I catch fish all the time with this method of fishing versus the other fly fishermen I see. So why, like,
something right?
Yeah, and it's way easier and
Very simplistic.
yeah, and it's super light to put in your backpack and
That's pretty
just
cool.
go to the alpine lakes up there and you can catch brook trout like all day long. Just awesome. It's so cool.
Oh, and that's the other thing. Hiking out there's some awesome places.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Stevens Lake and all that. There's some cool spots.
Yeah, I do. I tie my own flies, and it's just cool to tie your own fly and then catch a fish. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. My undersheriff and my detention captain, myself, and everybody's spouses, we all went to the Clearwater. I didn't know that the Clearwater ran in Shoshone County, but there is a little chunk of Shoshone County with a Clearwater in it. So we did this 4-mile hike, which we were all dying because, we weren't dying too much going down. It was very steep, but we had a lot of gear on. Like it was one of those like massive backpacks.
Yeah.
And we get down there and I'm like, I'm going fishing because I can keep the trout in this river and I can eat it and it's not going to have lead in it or anything.
Right.
So we unpack camp and everything. And I got to try some fishing, and first cast, I caught this massive trout. It was the biggest trout ever. And I've never killed a fish. I always catch and release. I haven't killed a fish since I catfished when I was younger. And I was like, my undersheriff, I was like, "Hey, Lance, I need you to come over here. I need your help." And he's like, "What do you need?" And I'm like, "I want to keep this fish. I want to cook it for dinner." And I'm like, "I need you to kill it." And he's like, "Oh, this is how you do it." He takes care of it. And as he's doing it, blood sprays his face. And then he like grabs the fish and he like put his fingers in the blood. And he's like, "This is how you're supposed to do it." And then he like just walked away. But I had my
Totally
fish.
normal.
Yeah, it was delicious. It was so much fun. Yeah,
That's
it's a great
cool.
way to fish because you really have to fight those fish and chase them down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right out. And it's not like a whole bunch of equipment that you're winning with. You got to go get close to them.
Yep.
Sounds like archery hunting.
Yeah.
But you got to get it right out in the middle of
Yep.
it. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, my undersheriff is a massive archery hunter.
Yeah.
He got charged by a grizzly last weekend.
What?
Where?
Yeah. I can't tell you because
Okay.
it's his hunting grounds.
But
Right.
like Idaho.
Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah. In our county.
Wow.
And did I say grizzly bear?
Yeah.
Scratch that.
Okay.
Black bear.
Okay.
I have one of my friends, well, not my friend, a friend of mine's friend was attacked by a grizzly bear in Montana twice in the same day. And then we were looking at that video this morning when he told me about his bear. So he was putting up trail cams and black bear. He came across a black bear with a baby, I guess, and she bluff charged him, and he had his 10 millimeter, and he thought he was going to have to shoot, and he didn't have to. But I was like, "Did you have your camera on?" I'm like, "That'll go viral."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's like,
100%.
"No, I didn't." And I'm like, "You're lucky to be alive." And I was like, "I got a good video to show you about a grizzly bear attack."
Yes.
This guy got attacked twice in one day.
See, we talk about mental health first responders, but this guy just had a traumatic event. You're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go watch a video of this guy getting eaten by a grizzly bear in Montana.
Hey, he survived.
Yeah, that's all right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm not going down with that. Like I've decided that a long time ago. I'm not going down from a shark, and I'm not going down from a grizzly bear.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of hiking. I haven't in the last since I became sheriff, but so I was telling my brother, he lives in Albuquerque, or maybe it's Clovis, Albuquerque, I think. But I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go hiking, and he's like, well, are there bears up there? Are there grizzly bears? And I'm like, well, I think there are some grizzly bears, but it's rare that people see them, but definitely big old black bears. And he goes, well, do you have a bear gun? And I'm like, well, I've got my like duty weapon, and of course I'm gonna take it. And because we had 45s at the time, and now we carry 9s, and I don't know much about anything about guns except for what I own and train on. And he's like, well, because he's a gun dealer, and so he's like, I'm gonna get you a gun. And he sent me this beautiful 10 millimeter pistol.
There you go.
And it packs a punch.
Yeah, that's my favorite woods gun.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Get one of those. I know this is like the second plug in a row, but Kenai holster from Gunfighters Inc. up in Rathdrum, a bunch of vet dudes.
You know, we
awesome.
buy holsters from them.
Oh, really?
A lot of our people do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
They're good dudes, but that Kenai for the woods is awesome because it stays strapped right up here. It's perfect.
Easy to grab.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then G9 ammo.
Yeah.
G9
Also
woodsman.
local.
Yes. Well, G9. I shot what am I trying to say? The shooting gel with those things.
Oh, the ballistic gel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so freaking
It's impressive.
Oh, yeah. It went right through 2 of them the long way and still hit the berm.
Wow.
Use those woodsman rounds. They are legit. They're cool.
You know, speaking of bears and guns, so I went hiking, and this fisherman kind of came by my camp, and he was like, hey, just so you know, there's a bear down there just walking along the river, and I'm camped on the river. And we were backpacking, and I'm like, hey, thanks for letting me know. So I get my bear spray out. And of course, I had my finger on the trigger, and guess what happened when I was hiking out of my camp? So I'm hiking out of my camp.
Bear sprays yourself.
I tripped. The bear spray went off, and I had my little Shih Tzu dog with me. Because we would hike all over with this dog. He's this little Shih Tzu, and his trail name is Kevin. His real name's Edward, but his trail name's Kevin.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. And I got him right in the face with that bear spray.
Poor guy.
I felt so bad.
Yeah.
I felt so bad. I've been trained not to, you don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're on target, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was so scared of that bear. I was getting out of there, and I just tripped, and
Poor Kevin.
Poor
yeah, Kevin, he passed away last year.
Oh, sorry
Yeah.
to hear that.
Yeah, it sucks, but he had a good life, good hiking life.
I'm
He
sure
was the only Shih Tzu you'd see out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, I 100% believe that.
Yeah.
I've never seen a
You know
Shih
what's
Tzu
funny
well
though
done.
is so he I don't know what it is about little dogs, but they escape all the time.
Mm.
And so we had Edward, and he would escape our backyard all the time. And one day I took him to get a haircut, and I gave him a mohawk. I thought that would give him a little street cred.
Yeah, good call.
And after the mohawk, he escaped, and there was a pack of dogs in our neighborhood chasing him. And all I saw was his little mohawk. I saw him down the street, and he was just running from he got into some trouble with that thing. Like the dogs were after him, I think, because he had this mohawk.
Yeah.
Like he was a badass,
Yeah.
essentially.
Hey, it looked like Mad Max. Those dogs
Yeah.
are like, no,
I mean,
he
he took bear spray to the face.
Yes.
Pretty hardcore.
He's a hardcore dog.
That's
I miss him.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that just
that's
reminds me so many things. We talk about pepper spray and law enforcement. I hate it.
We had this
Hate
talk
it.
the other day.
Dude, every single time we've used it in the field, I get it.
Oh,
You can't use it. It's like you can't coordinate. Like we do some pretty cool, we train together and stuff. Pepper spray, everything goes out the window.
yeah.
My partner doesn't realize I'm about to go hands on, sprays the guy right before I grab him. I get sprayed in the
Really?
face. Oh,
We don't use a lot of spray, honestly.
I don't like it.
We use
Dogs.
them on dogs. And I love dogs. I'm an animal lover,
Right.
but for whatever reason, when you're in uniform, those dogs, they don't like
It's
you.
really effective on dogs. Just ask Kevin.
Yeah.
Poor Kevin.
Yeah. Not Michael.
Kevin will tell you.
We had that conversation the other day because one of our coworkers was trying to get us to make a video of doing something stupid, and then the loser would have to get pepper sprayed or tased.
No.
And I was like, I'll get pepper sprayed all day long. Like I will take that over tasing any day.
Pepper spray for me any day.
Yeah,
I
same.
will not get tased. I won't even hold people when we're taser training.
I will get tased. I'll say 3 times on the hour, every hour before I'll get sprayed again.
Really?
And I've been sprayed 8 times.
Ooh.
8. Because,
Why would you do that? Oh,
because the
you have
military
work.
and law enforcement are both a special brand of stupid. We're all
Right.
Sheriff
Hey,
of Shoshone, but they're like, hey, yeah, I know you got sprayed in the military, but this is a different kind.
Yeah.
You need to get
You need to
certified.
experience this so you know
This
how it
kind.
affects people.
Yes, but this is different. It's like,
Here we go.
it really, man, this just sucks. I know what it feels like, and I'm never going to freaking use it unless it's on a dog. So yeah, I've gone through multiple trainings and I've just been sprayed. Or they guilt you. They're like, yeah, you don't have to. Everybody else is gonna.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
And go ahead.
Yeah,
Spray me
no.
in the face.
The Johnson's baby shampoo in the eyeballs, like 100%. It's gone in 10 minutes.
Man,
Totally worth it.
Yeah,
but
the taser scares me to death. I
It
don't like that
sucks.
thing at all.
No.
I'd still get it again. It's
All
5
right,
seconds.
so
It's over.
if anybody has a great idea about how we should do this video,
I think
I'm
the
down, but I'm not getting tased.
the proposed idea so far,
I'd rather get shot with a less lethal.
something you got to know. Me, Dave, Seth, and I aren't particularly bright. So our thought was we'd have a table and we'd be playing poker, and you throw in like a little OC grenade or CS or something.
CS. I like CS.
Yeah,
things.
CS. And just see who can stay in there the longest. So the first person to give up runs out, and they get a choice between pepper spray or taser. The second person, they don't get a choice. They get whatever's left. And the third person wins.
That's a very interesting game. I would love to watch that.
I imagine a lot of people would love to watch that.
Yeah. That would definitely get some views.
Oh, gosh.
What would be better is the first person doesn't get a choice, and whatever they get, they get.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah,
I'll
you
fight
could
like
just-
hell not because I just don't want to get tased.
You
So
could just
I will
spin it.
potentially just die right
Yeah, I
there
think
in
there
the
has
room.
to be some sort of like element of surprise on what you get.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like maybe a little wheel we spin.
Yeah.
Yep. Let somebody. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
we
let
need a
somebody
third
decide.
choice. What's a third choice? Less lethal to the
Yeah, well, the
thigh?
third person shouldn't have to get it, right? Because they're in there eating CS.
No, I mean the first person needs 3 choices.
Oh yeah.
Like 3.
Yeah, less lethal, pepper spray and taser.
The 40.
I don't want to break my thigh bone.
Yeah. No thanks.
Anyway,
No way.
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
That's a crazy
we'll keep
idea.
working on
Not a great
that, yeah.
idea. It's a terrible
That's
idea.
a definite cop idea.
So if you have a
right there.
training day coming up and you need to, deploy some stuff, I know a couple guys.
All right, yeah, I will absolutely take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Love a
You'll
good- I
send
love a
somebody
good
up as
beating.
representation.
If you guys want it filmed, I'll take care of that for you.
Yes, that
do
would
that.
be awesome.
Yeah.
What Shoshone County, the social media, what are you guys on?
Right now, we're only on Facebook.
Okay.
And
Is it Shoshone County Sheriff?
Yep.
Pretty much. So that's
Yep.
how people can find you.
Yep.
Look them up, join there, like it or whatever, follow them, and then they'll get updates from you guys.
yeah, we
That's
try and
cool, too.
update on things that are going on right now, things that are coming up. It's a pretty good resource for information.
Cool.
Is there still a good email contact where if somebody is interested in potentially either lateraling or coming to work out there where they can get a hold of and kind of go on a waiting list type of thing? Or do they just need to keep checking the website?
Actually, we don't have a website for our office. That's something that we're trying to get done because our office has never had one.
Mhm.
We have a county website. If somebody's interested in working for a beautiful community, for
Riding ATVs to and from work.
with a super
encouraged to
sweet
do
team of
something.
people,
Yes.
they could contact the captain, Seth Green,
Awesome.
or myself,
Cool.
or the undersheriff. Pretty much just make a phone call to the sheriff's office, and it's a pretty small agency. So
I think there are some people out there that'll appeal to that like the idea of a place that's that throwback small town, and you get that camaraderie of a small agency that's just different.
well, yeah, I mean, even today, we got a call that a plane had landed in Calder, Idaho, which there's not a lot of places to land there. So we were worried it had crashed, and so we sent deputies down to see what was going on because they couldn't communicate with the plane. They didn't know if they landed successfully, and it turned out they landed at an airport, so they're safe and everything's fine. But you get a variety of calls. I mean, I've been on 3 plane crashes.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah.
I mean, normally, not
Yeah.
here apparently.
Yeah.
And an avalanche.
couple avalanches.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, at least 5.
Shoshone is cool. It has a lot of cool. I mean, fly fishing, just fishing in general, all the navigable rivers up there. You've got Silver Mountain, which is, I don't know if it's a world-class ski resort, but it's really freaking nice.
Yeah, I never skied.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I love Silver. Silver's one of my favorites. It absolutely is one of my favorites. But the gondola ride up, they go mountain biking up there too. Huge trails. It's an outdoor lover's dream.
Yes, it is.
Cool place to check out.
And that's what I kind of want to keep it the way it is.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So you want me to discourage anybody from moving out there? I'm not going to do that. I can't.
No, we need the tax base.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. Just understanding you need good
Good for
cops
the
out there, too.
businesses.
Yeah.
But we do need more cops.
I think, as the Coeur d'Alene area becomes more expensive, I think we'll start seeing more people heading that way, which will be good. Because I mean, honestly, a lot of the people that are moving here are pretty darn good people.
Mhm.
They're very conservative and they're very law enforcement friendly. So
Yeah, they are.
I think it'd be a good boost to the community to have some of them head out your way for sure.
And it's just unknown because you get a lot of people that want to go north, Bonner, Boundary County, which are great in
Oh,
their
those are
own right.
beautiful.
Yeah. Going out east in Shoshone's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, we are at an hour and 35 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy how fast
That
that
is. That went fast.
goes? Thank you very much.
Yeah, you guys.
Honor
I had
to
a
meet
really
you.
good time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
It's
thank
good,
you.
Good chatting with you. I really appreciate and respect your leadership style. I think that's pretty badass.
Thank you.
The way you're doing that. We've heard such good things about your department. I know he has his ear to the ground more than I do, but I hear it through him. And
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, if you're curious, Shoshone County Sheriff's Office on Facebook.
Facebook. Yep.
Look 'em up.
Super easy to find.
And
They do all their updates. They do some good work. It's cool. Cool to see
Yeah.
from a small agency.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Sheriff Lindsey. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. Same.
You
Let's
also.
do it again sometime.